Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first LEPC meeting for 2026. It seems like we have quite a few online and quite a few in the room, so maybe we should go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Lisa Carey, Emergency Manager for Butte-Silver Office of Emergency Management.
I'm Cecilia Helming. I do whatever she tells me to do.
Sean Frederickson, Butte-Silver Parks and Recreation Director.
Zane Gleason, Butte-Silver Public Works.
Tanner Reynolds, I'm the Ops Planning Supervisor for Northwestern Energy.
Andy Sparks, Northwestern Energy. I'm back because Kyle left us, so Tanner will be taking my place.
Oh, welcome, Tanner.
Thank you.
I'm Mark Neary, Public Works Director, Butte-Silver.
Karen Malakny, Health Officer for Butte-Silver.
Marissa Morgan, Director of Safety and Health at Montana Tech.
Doug Conway, Butte-Silver 911.
Tim McMahon, Operations Captain, Butte-Silver Police.
John Reed, Sheriff Walker.
Aiden Dennehy, Butte-Silver Planning. Jackie Thompson, Environmental Health Division Manager at Health Department.
And I'm Jenny Ellis. I'm the FEP Coordinator at the Health Department for Butte-Silver.
All right, and now we're on the board. The first person I see is Jason Grimace.
Hello, Jason Grimace, Montana Tech, campus security and emergency services there.
Welcome. Oh, sorry. Hattie Thatcher.
Hi, I'm Hattie Thatcher of Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners.
Jen Phillips.
Jen Phillips, Emergency Management, Safety and Industrial Hygiene from St. James Healthcare.
Thank you. Jeremy Fleeky.
Yeah, Jeremy Fliggy, Environmental Engineer for Montana Resources.
Hello. Kelly Cosby. All right, we're having a hard time hearing you, so, but we know who you are from REC. Who else? Ed Lester?
Good afternoon, this is Sheriff Ed Lester coming to you live and direct from my office in Butte, America.
All right, thank you. Kurt Marthaler.
Hello, everyone. Sorry I couldn't make it today live, but this is Kurt with the Butte School District.
Great, thank you. Caitlin McGrath.
Hi, everyone. It's Caitlin McGrath, Industrial Hygienist with the Montana Department of Labor.
Welcome. John Sullivan.
John Sullivan, Butte-Silver Government Buildings.
Thank you. Travis Booth.
Good afternoon, everyone. Travis Booth, National Weather Service, Missoula.
Great, thank you. Justin Webster.
Hi, Justin Webster, Montana Disaster and Emergency Services.
Great, thank you. All right, so if everyone could please remember to sign the sign-in sheet. It should be going around, and we will note who's on the board virtually attending. If you had the chance to review the minutes from October 22nd, 2025, we'll now, does anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Doug made a motion. Second?
Second.
Got a second. And all approved?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Does anyone have a public comment for anything that's on the agenda? Seeing none? Okay, so I did have Mark Wozlak on the DOC, but he is going to reschedule because he had a conflict that came up suddenly and couldn't get out. So instead, I'm supposed to do a presentation tonight for council. So I thought I would give that presentation today so I can practice and that would be our presentation. I've got to figure out how to get to my screen. I'll stop sharing that one and see what happens. Okay. If I can turn off the people. Sorry, I'm being slow. I'm going to see if I can get well, I don't know. Oh, good. Jim Keenan, can you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Jim Keenan, Butte-Silver Water Plant Superintendent.
Thank you. I don't know how to get back to that screen. I guess I just trust. You. I don't know. What have I done? Maybe actually if I take this mouse and click over here. Yeah, that's a little bit better. I don't know. Okay, we're gonna try this. All right, so JP asked me to give a presentation to council about the last two incidents that we activated the EOC. And that would be in August for the do not consume water incident with MR, and then for the severe weather incident in December. I've got this. I maybe don't. Anyone who knows how to work this team stuff? Let's see here. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and see if I get back to my presentation. Let's see if this works. Oh, wow, okay. So the first thing I was going to actually do is say, explain what an EOC is in case somebody doesn't know, and this is going to be very high level. It is just a central coordination point for multi-department or multi-agency incidents, and I say point instead of location because Butte-Silver is very fortunate to have an EOC, an actual facility, especially one where we work in every day, so we always know that the computers are working, the internet's working. We don't have to dust things off and set up an EOC like a lot of places do. But it also could be handled virtually, say through a web EOC or even Teams, where you can have a whole view of an incident right there collected. And what the EOC does is it supports incident command. It does not replace on-site operations. We don't tell police what they should be doing or fire how to do their job. We just support that. And the EOC scales from just monitoring an incident to actually activating and bringing people in and setting up whatever we have to do based on the incident complexity. What the EOC provides is a common operating picture for decision makers, which reduces duplication of effort, it improves speed and accuracy of decision making, and it provides consistent, accurate public information. I kind of went on Google just to say, what are reasons that you activate an EOC? And it came up with that list, and I just copied and pasted it because I thought it was pretty interesting that the first one was severe weather. That's the last reason we activated. Wildfires, we had one last year. Infrastructure utility failures. Public health would be COVID. Basically, it's any incident that impacts multiple agencies, departments, or the broader community. Or anything that exceeds routine departmental capabilities, such as 911 getting overwhelmed by calls. So the first one is the do not consume water incident, which happened August 13th. So, what initially happened, and I'm just going to kind of read this fast. Around 4 o'clock, the Public Works Director, Mark Neary, received notification that Montana Resources had a cross connection that potentially contaminated the municipal water supply. Director Neary then notified Plant Water Superintendent Jim Keenan, we have stars in the room, and directed staff to begin flushing and testing the water system. Then Superintendent Keenan notified Montana DEQ, which resulted in the issuance of a do not consume order. Director Neary notified Chief Executive Gallagher and coordinated with the Public Information Officer, Jason Parrish, to release the information to the public. Director Neary deployed staff to Helena to obtain 125 additional water sampling kits. And then around 4:30, PIO issued the press release, posted the information to the Butte-Silver website, and notified emergency management. That all kind of happened really fast. So then, what happens next? Montana DEQ then notified the health department that the do not consume order was issued and that they required notification of affected businesses. The health officer activated their communications plan, recalled staff to organize the response, and notified emergency management. The sheriff advised emergency management that 911 dispatch was overwhelmed by public information calls and requested a public hotline be established. The sheriff's office issued a press release with a hotline phone number to redirect calls from 911. The EOC-based hotline operations expanded from 3 lines the first day to a total of 10 lines the second day in response to the high call volume. The chief executive directed distribution of bottled water. However, local supplies were nearly depleted due to the public demand. EOC then coordinated with state DS and other partner agencies to secure additional bottled water resources until the local suppliers could meet demand. And the Finance and Budget Office established a separate account to track all incident-related expenses, including staff overtime. So, the impacted area initially was defined broadly to include all areas south of Front Street, and this was done out of an abundance of caution. And then once they assessed the situation closer, they refined the impacted area to that area that's outlined on the map, which was south of the mine. And then as the incident progressed, it was refined even further to only include at-risk populations that resided within those boundary lines. Then the bottled water distribution followed a distribution plan established during COVID. It set up the drive-through distribution site at the Civic Center Annex. It delivered to those impacted who were unable to pick up water themselves. It was staffed by employees by nearly every department, and more than 4,000 cases of water were delivered by Butte-Silver Boat over the course of the incident. The hotline operations, like I said, it quickly expanded from 1 to 10 phones, developed and followed a frequently asked questions script for hotline operators to follow. A Google map was created that could query addresses, so when callers would call and say, does my address reside within the impacted area, they could type in that address and determine if it was in there. And it was staffed by employees across many departments, but primarily health department and emergency management. During the hotline, they received over 2,300 calls. The first day we set up on the 13th, it probably didn't get going until closer to 8 o'clock. And we went till about midnight when the phone calls started slowing down and we started getting a little bit of the, people who should have been sleeping, so we decided to wrap her up that night. The next day was our largest volume of calls. And then on the 16th and 17th, that was the weekend, so we had a shorter period. We didn't have the full hours up. On the 17th, that was Sunday, that was 2 hours it was open, and they received 94 calls within 2 hours. On the 18th, that was the day that the order was downgraded to an advisory for the at-risk groups. And those at-risk groups were on that other page. It was the elderly over 65 and infants, pregnant, those people. And then you gotta remember throughout the incident, Public Works is still, every day, they continue to flush the water system, they continue to test the water and monitor the testing results. They maintain constant communication with DEQ to expedite the retraction of the do not consume order. And Montana Resources, they maintain constant communications with Butte-Silver and the public, took full responsibility of the cross connection between the processed water they use for milling and the municipal water supply. They set up their own water distribution site on Shields Avenue, providing free bottled water to the public. So that's on top of the water that was provided through Butte-Silver. And they provided a place on the MR website for businesses to file a claim for losses and a phone number for those without internet access. And they installed cross-connection prevention equipment on their property to prevent future backflow problems in the municipal water system. And this picture here, I believe, was on a Sunday where the head of DEQ and our chief executive, JP Gallagher, were out working the water distribution. Public messaging. So, a joint information center, JIC, was established at the EOC, and the people who were represented in that group was Public Works, the chief executive, the Water Utility Division, Parks and Rec, Emergency Management, Safety and ADA, and Public Health, PIO, and law enforcement. And then as new information was received, messages were coordinated through the JIC and distributed by the PIO to all local media outlets, posted on the Butte-Silver website and social media channels. Press conferences were scheduled and broadcast from the courthouse rotunda to provide updates and answer questions. And there were 8 Everbridge notifications issued during the incident using the same coordinated messaging. And JP, the one picture is a picture of JP's nice letter that he broadcast to media and social media and sent out in an email. And this was a picture of one of the Everbridge notifications. Speaking of the Everbridge system, so when we do the notifications through Everbridge, we send the notifications to a targeted audience. Sometimes it could be to the entire county, as in to the top right, I guess, top right. And the bottom right there is south of Front Street. That's where I sent out one of the messages where we said we're just going to get the information south of Front Street. And then that we could send it just to the targeted impacted area also. Between August 13th and August 25th, there was actually 10 notifications sent through Everbridge. 8 were related to the do not consume order, and 2 were for a law enforcement tactical operation, public safety. And of all of the negative feedback or pushback I got was for those 2 that I sent for law enforcement, or maybe the 1, because it happens very early in the morning and people don't like their phone ringing sometimes to let them know not to go in this section of town because we're trying to keep you safe. So, just a little tiny bit more about Everbridge. The nice thing about Everbridge, being an emergency notification system, is it preloads some contacts for you. So there's over 21,000 contacts that are preloaded into this system. The downside to that is it could be old information. We don't know if we have your most accurate information. We don't know if you've moved out of the area. And so this system, plus it's going to be a phone call to you at whatever time of day we send the notification, and you can't control how you're receiving the message or when. If you were to register, the organizational contacts are people who've actually manually registered. So we know that you can keep your information current. You can let us know where you want to receive the notification, how you want to receive the notification. And you can also tie it to a geographic location, like your home or your work, your daycare, anywhere that you might want to be notified if a problem goes down, because we do send the messages through that targeted notification by drawing polygons on a map. If you want to see past notifications that are issued, you can go to the Everbridge member portal, and you can click up here where it's the top right, where it's little tiny notifications, and it'll send you a list of notifications that were published to this portal. And also you can go to readybutte.mt.gov and click the top link for sign up for emergency alerts, and there's all sorts of information and links to get to the member portal and where you sign up. Any questions so far? All right. Severe weather event, December 17th. So we're going to start on the 16th. On the 16th, a lot of notifications were flying my way, where I was starting to really believe that we had a storm coming. So Northwestern, what is that? National Weather Service issued a storm warning, which is actually elevated. Before it was a a watch. So they elevated this issuance from first they had a storm watch out there, which says, it's probably coming, to warning, which means it's happening, describing an historic wind event and damaging winds expected the following day. Anticipated impacts included downed trees and power lines, widespread power outages, and hazardous travel conditions. Emergency management notified departments, elected officials, and partner agencies by email and phone calls. And then I also noticed that I kind of went on Facebook and I noticed that I started putting out public preparedness messaging regarding damaging winds the day before. So I did see the alerts coming out, but I probably wasn't taking it that seriously until the 16th when we started getting the more alerts, more meetings and information coming my way. And I still don't think we fully anticipated the storm that was coming. So on December 17th, the storm began around 8 a.m. Early reports indicated widespread power outages, including traffic signals and damage. The EOC was activated and departments were notified to report to the EOC. Emergency alert advising emergency travel only was issued via Everbridge. Decision was made to open an emergency shelter at the Butte Civic Center, and the 911 dispatch center was being overwhelmed with incoming calls. The departments that came to the EOC to work that day was the chief executives, emergency management, public works, public health, public transit, animal services, public information, safety, ADA, St. James Hospital, fire, and law enforcement. And that is the message that was sent out over Everbridge. So at the EOC, we monitored conditions via radio, internet sources, and partner outreach, coordinated information and resources as needed. As new information was received, coordinated messaging was developed via the JIC and distributed by the PIO to local media outlets, Butte-Silver website, and social media. Hotline activation discussed to support 911 dispatch, but the hotline was not activated due to potential life safety impacts. The fire department established an incident command post at the station number 1 to support dispatch, and dispatch was calling in additional staff. The emergency shelter was operated by the Civic Center and Health Department staff. Device charging stations were provided for impacted residents, and Red Cross was on standby. Action Inc. decided not to do their normal lunch locations and do a couple around town, and they requested to move their program to the emergency shelter, which we did. The Butte School District reached out to JP during a break in the storm to discuss conditions and made the decision to close the schools. St. James Hospital successfully coordinated a patient transfer during a period when life flight was unavailable. And the EOC remained active throughout the day in anticipation of a second round of severe weather that was supposed to happen around 3 o'clock, but it did not materialize. Some of the coordinating agencies that we were talking with, keeping in contact with over the phone and such, was the National Weather Service, Northwestern Energy, American Red Cross, Action Inc., the Rescue Mission, Butte Airport, Montana Department of Transportation, government buildings, disaster emergency services from the state and Jefferson County and Beaverhead County, Highway Patrol, and the school district. Here was about 1 p.m. That's some of the high winds that were recorded around our area, with Butte coming in at 63 miles per hour. However, at 1:43 p.m. we had our peak gust of the day that happened at the Butte Airport of 74 miles per hour. Some lessons observed. The roads department cleared the downed trees from the roadways. Staffing was adequate and chainsaw availability was limited. However, the fire department noted that they carry chainsaws on their trucks. Public Works identified a need for additional radios as communication was challenging with a high number of staff on shift simultaneously. Widespread power outages occurred, requiring the use of backup generator power. Several Butte-Silver facilities lacked generators, including the city shops, the health department, and the Don People Seniors Complex. Most of those impacted was the shops. Gaps in basic preparedness equipment were identified, including such items as flashlights. The health department transferred vaccine supplies to storage chest refrigerators. And if that emergency had exceeded 72 hours, the vaccines would have been relocated to so that the vaccines would remain viable. The shelter remained open until 10 p.m. Red Cross was on standby and we had cots and blankets available, but no overnight sheltering was needed. And dispatch has plans that when there's a weather event forecasted like that in the future, they will staff an additional one up front. So these are just some pictures of the wind event around Butte. A lot of signs were damaged. A lot of trees down. And I guess one of the major reasons the trees were impacted so much is because the ground was not frozen. Had the ground been frozen, the trees probably wouldn't have been impacted to the degree they were. The one picture in the middle, that's Montana Tech. There were a lot of tree versus vehicle impacts, and you know, the houses, I think I heard a report of 2 houses that were severely damaged. This picture, the first one I thought maybe the neighbor's house got it, but the second picture is actually of the same house, and you see the big tree actually fell into a street because they were on the corner there. More damage in Uptown Butte. Trailers, trampolines, storage sheds, all took a pretty good hit. Trampoline and the power lines, more trees down. That tree split in half up toward the top, playground equipment. So differences and similarities between the 2 incidents. The incident duration, the first incident was kind of drawn out over the 10 days, primarily because DEQ just wouldn't release the do not consume order, versus less than 1 day actually for the second. Severe weather event was forecasted, allowing for advanced preparation. The EOC was activated for both incidents earlier for the wind event. The Butte Civic Center was utilized as operations for operations during both incidents. Public Works served as the lead agency for both incidents, and both incidents were managed effectively through coordination, communication, and teamwork. And that's the end. How long did that take? Any questions? Okay, now I gotta fight with this for half a minute.
That was good, Lisa.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Since I have to do this tonight, do you think there's anything that I should add or anything? It's pretty. I didn't want to make it so deep that it's going to be way too long, but I want to give enough information. Okay. I don't know how to share this. Oh, if I just stop sharing, it goes right up there. Better. Okay. All right. So there were no, okay, so moving on, I'll go to A, response. And we didn't have any hazmat reports issued, even though we had several semi-trucks wrecked since October, the last time we met. They were in Jefferson County, just close to Silver County. And then the only emergency alert that was issued was for the wind event on December 17th. I don't have any report for plan. Does anybody else have anything to add to response? I kind of took that off of there as well. Sheriff, do you have anything to add under any lessons observed since October under law enforcement?
No, Lisa, I thought you did great.
Great, thank you. All right, so under emergency preparedness, Travis, I saw you were online. Do you have updates from the National Weather Service?
Yeah, once again, good job, Lisa, with your report.
Thanks.
Up with the wind scenario. Yeah, winter just continues to be on break. It looks like probably for at least the next 2 weeks. No major weather systems expected. The next chance, perhaps, of being more, winter-like would be mid-February. But yeah, we'll have to get a little closer and see how that goes. But yeah, pretty quiet period, at least for the next 2 weeks.
Well, that's good. I'm just going to ask one question. I kind of blanked out there for a second. is there snow in the mountains around Butte? I hear that there's snow in the mountains places, but when I look at the East Ridge, look at the Highlands, it doesn't look like we have a lot of snow.
Yeah, that's a good question to ask. Generally, looking at the different snowtail gauges, so the gauges that measure the snow water equivalent, if we're looking at, the water season to date, they're generally for the high elevation sites, say like 7,000 feet and above, generally from like 70% to just above 100% of normal. But really, like you're getting at, is the discrepancy is once you get into that mid elevation range, say like 5 to 7,000 feet, most of the gauges are only recording like 30 to 50% of normal. So you're right on in that regard. But overall, if you take the mid elevation and the high elevations together, the current snow water equivalent compared to what it would be average for to date is generally in that 70-80% of normal at this point.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'll move on to grant updates. FEMA still is kind of under attack for their grants. And so normally I'd be very busy this time of year doing grant applications. And I have not even received the award, the official award from last year's Emergency Management EMPG grant. And they haven't released any grants. They haven't opened up the grant period now, and they just sent an email yesterday saying that they have no idea. They have not yet been informed, so we're on hold. However, there is the Montana Resiliency Grant, and we did notice the gaps. Like I said, the city shops were surprised. They were very well prepared for the wind event, but they were surprised when the power went out of the shop. Government buildings was prepared for the possibility of the power going out, because at the shops we do have the fueling stations where we get diesel and gas. So one of the things we all did the day before was make sure our equipment was fueled up, but they were unable to get into their garages and things. So for this Montana Resiliency grant, I did put in a letter of intent for a couple of grant applications to submit, one of them being a generator for the city shops. Even though there's other facilities, I just wanted to target the one that we should really focus on. And so that's all I have for grants. Training and exercises. This would have been James' role too, but March 12th, we are going to be having here at the EOC the pipeline safety training program. That's that, I forget the group that puts on, Paradigm, I think, puts on this pipeline safety training. And that's going to be located here. On April 2nd, DNRC is going to be hosting some wildfire home assessment training. And this is to train people to go out and do wildfire home assessments to see how prepared they are if there was a fire in the area, how protected their home would be. And then the 26th to 28th, there's going to be basic and advanced life support training here, and we have started planning for a tabletop exercise for an interagency wildfire tabletop exercise, and that'll be held in early May. I guess Northwestern Energy has received a lot of requests for home assessments, and so that's why they're bringing that training to this area, so we can get some people trained and get out and get those assessments done. Okay. So then and I did email out that list for the Montana DES training opportunities. Hopefully you received them. For other communication, we have, they are in progress of updating the 911 alternative center here at the EOC. It was supposed to be done by the end of December, but we ran into some glitches over the holidays, so hopefully soon. I was hoping that it'd be done by the end of January, but hopefully February that'll be wrapped up and we'll have this one operating, and then we can begin the training of the 911 operators. And then there was an RFP put out for the fire station alerting system, and that will be open tonight at the council. So hopefully we got quite a few responses from that. And that is being purchased through the Homeland Security grant we received the year before. last year. So, under Unified Health, Karen, Milwaukee, do you have anything for public health? It's terrible to be healthy.
Just that flu still is circulating. It's mostly influenza A. Influenza B is not being detected in the wastewater right now, just A. COVID's still in the wastewater. We have no RSV or measles right now. Or have we ever had measles? So, yeah, we placed our order for our flu vaccine for the 26-27 year. So, just chugging along.
Great. Jen, are you online? Do I have any updates for citizens?
The one thing that I can add, we have locked in the date for the Western Healthcare Coalition Medical Response Surge Exercise. This is a functional exercise that we all do as a team. I'll be sending out the invites. It'll be on March 19th at 1 p.m. So Health Department, EMS, Lisa, you guys, James, and Karen and Lisa, let me think if there's anyone else we need to add. I did secure our dining rooms up in the cafeteria, so I was just waiting for meeting space. If we were going to have to, Lisa, if I was going to have to ask you, or if I could have it at the hospital this time. So it will be at the hospital, but I'll send out invites next week to you guys. And then we're just continuing to work our final pieces of the hospital's electrical shutdown for our switchgear. And that will be tied up the second week of February. And so we'll be done with those planned electrical shutdowns next month.
Great. Those have been going on for quite a while now.
We've been doing actual shutdowns straight for 16 months. So we'll be happy when this is done. And then we had a real one in December, so that didn't help.
Oh, right. Yes, that wind event. Okay. Sheltering, I don't have a report. I already talked about the shelter that we did in the presentation. And so now we do have some extra time. If anybody wanted to share what's going on, if you have trainings coming up or just things.
So we will be hosting at the Butte-Silver Health Department. We will be putting on a tabletop exercise for our truck wreck protocols. As we are not seeing a lot of truck wrecks being reported to the health department for inspection. And so we are going to do a tabletop exercise. We've invited law enforcement. We've invited neighboring counties as well as DES officials for that. So if anybody's interested, please let me know and we'll get that invite sent over to you as well. And that's February 18th. At 2, I think. At 2.
Thank you. Do you want to say anything about your new job?
Yeah, Andy's old position is now my position. So I will be kind of the new person in all the meetings. It's obviously the first one I've been to, but moving forward, I should be able to kind of answer questions you guys have and stuff like that. I know obviously the big one is the wind event, because that's kind of, we're probably the main targets in that thing. We do appreciate everyone's help with that. That was a very big one. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts. I think our call center, they actually had so many calls that it just kind of overwhelmed our system for a second. And then couldn't quite get everyone's answer, but in cases like that, we know there's lines down. A lot of stuff, we get a lot of calls to like comms lines that aren't ours. So that's calls that we have to take and go respond to and find out it's not ours. That takes time, stuff like that. So kind of identifying and getting the public aware of our stuff versus theirs. Obviously don't touch down power lines. We had instances where our guys found stuff that was cut that shouldn't have been cut. Getting information out about that type of stuff. But for the most part, we really appreciate everyone's help. I think within the hour we had was like 80% of views back in. And then it was just the ones that severe damage was taking stuff that took longer. So really appreciate everyone's efforts with that. Moving forward, we had kind of our own internal meetings to discuss things we learned, things we could have done better. Our team's all fairly young, so it was a couple of our first rodeo. But moving forward, I think we feel pretty confident going into stuff. And then obviously stuff like that, it's so unpredictable, you have no idea what's actually going to happen and how severe things will get, so we do appreciate everyone's help though. So.
And our next step is getting with the fire department and the police department, and seeing what we can do better for the next one as well.
Yep.
So we'll be reaching out, setting up those meetings, just to make sure I know that the fire department was on, downlines for extended periods of time. So we're gonna see if there's something we can do better, to you guys really.
One of the things that I heard a lot in the wind event was people having generators, and that can be harmful to you guys too also. So is there some type of an education piece that could go out there to just, you know, how to safely do that? Because you're backfeeding a down line that you guys are working on, you could kill somebody. Is there a proper way to do it, or should anybody be doing it?
We appreciate that people have generators. Unfortunately, the best way to do it would be to disconnect from our system, and they can't do that. It has to be us. There's the Generac that's out there that has the piece in it that disconnects the meter, so they can't backfeed, but we also can't force people to purchase that equipment. So unfortunately, no. But
one of the big things too is a lot of people would call and say, hey, I'm ready for my power to be turned back on. But making sure people understand the difference between Northwestern Energy owned assets versus their owned assets, like the meter base and everything like that on their house is theirs, so we can't touch that legally. We can't do any of the internal wiring on the house, anything like that. And making sure people understand that it is good to go before they call us, because that was a lot of the calls we got too, was, hey, we're ready to turn power back on, but our guys would show up and be like, no, you're not, type of thing. So we do have flyers and stuff like that moving forward, we're pushing to get that'll get sent out and hung on doors to kind of inform people about that, and posts on social media that we hopefully can be a little more clear to let customers know, you know, what's yours, what needs to be taken care of before we actually can turn the power back on safely, type of stuff, because that's a big one too.
Great, thank you. I'm glad Mark brought up the generators, because I was also reminded about that. That's pretty scary. Sean, did you want to talk about your project and trying to manage the fuels?
So Lisa and I, as Lisa said, there's not as many grants out there for fuel reduction, but we started the process of looking into doing some fuel reduction on the southeast side of the Big Butte, or the M. If you've been up there, it's really thick, and I don't think we're going to be moving the fireworks from the 3rd being shot from the M. So we need to start thinking about fuel reduction on that south side. We did meet with the same forester that did the fuel reduction up at the Basin Creek, and he's in the process of giving us a bid to see what we can do. It sounds like it would take about a week. He would do the same exact thing, have the piles there. The piles have to stay there for a year, and then we would light the piles, similar, just exactly how we did at Basin Creek. This forester has done this work on Mount Helena, same exact job. So, you know, the question might be, well, we'd light these fires. They did it in Helena. We have photos of what that looks like, and he did a really great job. So, more to come on that. There were grants out here, sort of like Basin Creek. There's no grants, as Lisa said, for this, so we need to figure out how to pay for it. But this is the first step to kind of getting out ahead of that potential emergency.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board log in? Do you have anything you'd like to share? Giving it half a second for any lag. I don't see anything. All right, well, thank you, everyone. We're going to blame Kurt for making these meetings go so long. Since he wasn't here now, we're finishing up ahead of time, so we did pretty well.
That hurt.
What?
He said that hurt.
Oh, that hurt, okay. All right, so we will, I know, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Very good, thank you. The next meeting's the 25th of February. Potentially, I might have a conflict that I may have to reschedule, and that's when the prison water system breach, I hate to say failure, that's a harsh word. He was gonna do it in February, so I'll see if maybe he can come in March if that other conflict does come up. So we might not meet in February, and if that happens, we will meet in March. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
I was working on